All right. We are going to continue our pastimes of the Mahabharata. Remember, Arjuna is lamenting to Yudhishthir about Krishna's departure, and he's lamenting that how could we have overcome this obstacle, that obstacle, this obstacle, and he's going through all the pastimes of the Mahabharata, how overcoming obstacles without Krishna's blessing. Similarly, you're going to go through obstacles in life. It's going to be this obstacle and that obstacle and this obstacle and that obstacle. The material world means obstacles. It means we sing Samsara Dava Nalalidha Loka. Samsara is the material world is like a Davanala. It's like a forest fire. Lida, afflicting Loka, the whole world. And actually, what is the solution? Is Trinaya Karunya Ganaganatvam. So in the form of rain clouds, the one who is delivering that mercy, and that's the mercy of Krishna, and that's actually the Guru. So if you're looking for more inspiration in your life, and you need more inspiration, you need to have a connection to Krishna, and live deep with the purpose. Sometimes we can lose our our meditation on why we're doing what we're doing. Or in the beginning, we might be doing things for material motivations, but as we mature in devotional life, our material motivations get less and less prominent, and so then we're left with, well, why do I keep going then? Why do I keep going? I was doing this because I was materially motivated, but now I'm seeing that there's no value to this material motivation. How do I keep moving forward? So you need a spiritual motivation. The way you get your spiritual motivation is you have a clear and concise connection to Krishna, your teacher, and by making that connection and you understand that your way to serve Krishna is only through their mercy. Actually, you cannot just storm your way into service to Krishna. Like, here I am, I'm knocking down the walls of the Nikunjas and Goloka Vrindavan, and here I am, look at me, I'm serving Krishna. Just see how I wave this incense. Now look at how I wave the ghee lamp. No, this is not, you'll never be inducted into this way. You can do many things with the body, but the service is something of the heart. So, and only it can happen through revelation. So we need the one who's going to deliver that mercy of revelation. We need a teacher, we need a guru. But Arjuna was so fortunate that his teacher, his guru, and actually his dear friend was Krishna himself. So he's lamenting now, and he's showing us how we should lament both in separation from Krishna himself and the advanced Vaishnavas. We should lament their separation. And realize that we're only doing anything based on their mercy. So sometimes it's a little difficult to keep moving forward in our devotional lives. But when we recalibrate, why am I doing this in the first place? How is the mercy coming? Do I have any chance of working towards my goal of ever really being in service to Krishna? Then we can get recalibrated, and by the mercy and blessings of the advanced Vaishnavas, we'll have a purpose. We can have a purpose to move forward with. So this is our goal in our life, our mission. So before we go any further, we shall glorify all those Vaishnavas and the portals into spiritual knowledge via our gurus. And we'll start with the prayer, which means I was born in the darkness of ignorance, blinded by ignorance, and by the ointment of knowledge applied, my eyes have been opened by who? Sri Guru. That's what Om Jnana means. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Tinashalakaya Chakshumitam Jnana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupa carry on. Our carrying on will look like this here. The last verse was, "It was he only who loosened the hair of all the wives of the miscreants, who dared open the cluster of your queen's hair, which had been nicely dressed and sanctified for the great Rajasuya sacrificial ceremony. At that time she fell down at the feet of Lord Krishna with tears in her eyes." This is referring to the pastime of Draupadi. You've heard the pastime where her sari was, she was trying to be stripped naked, and Krishna appeared as an infinite sari, and the devotee was not able to be stripped naked, and it was a great miracle, and everyone was wondering, how did this happen? It was only by Krishna's mercy. So a great devotee is never going to be left bereft of anything. Anyone who is taken to the path of devotion, we see with Prahlad Maharaj, we see with Draupadi, we see in many, many historical circumstances that anyone who's a devotee of the Lord, he protects them at all circumstances. So you just also try to devote yourself unto the Lord and find somebody to follow who also is devoting themselves to the Lord. There's a verse in the Upadeshamrita that's actually the essence of all advice. And it goes, Tannama Rupa Charitari, Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu, Smrityo Kramena, Rasana Manasini Yojya, Tishtan Braje Tadanugami, Tananuragi Jananugami. And then, don't poop out now. Kalang Nayera Kilamit Upadesha Sadam. And this is actually said to be like the most important of all of the Upadeshamrita verses. So that name of Krishna, that form of Krishna, even the deity form, and especially if you're an advanced devotee and you can see Krishna, wonderful. And his character pastimes, like we're reading in the Bhagavatam, and so on, Sukirtananu should be joyously chanted. Everyone should joyously chant about Krishna's name, his form, his qualities, like this. And this will allow you to smrityo kramena, to gradually remember him by engaging the rasana, the tongue, and manasi, the mind. So use your tongue and your mind and glorify Krishna. That's the essence here. So you be engaged in these things. And then it says, Tishtad, become a resident of Vrindavan. There's two things. You could actually go to the physical Vrindavan. Ben is going to become a resident of Vrindavan for some time. I got to be a resident of Vrindavan for some time. But actually the real, you can be in Vrindavan and not be in Vrindavan. You can be in physical Vrindavan, but the heart cannot be in Vrindavan. Or you can not be in physical Vrindavan, but the heart can be in Vrindavan. The real essence is to actually always be in Vrindavan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was calling Vrindavan the land of faith, deep in faith to Krishna. But this important part, how do you be a resident of Vrindavan? Anuragi Jananugami. Anuragi is those who are attached to Krishna already. Jananugami, you follow those persons. So those persons who are already attached to Krishna, you follow those persons, and you can learn yourself how to be attached to Krishna. And then it's saying, Kalang Nayed Akilam. So completely utilizing all of your time in this way, chanting Krishna's names, forms, pastimes, and following under the, becoming a resident of Vrindavan, following those who are already deeply attached to Krishna, who are already residents of Vrindavan. You spend all of your time just like this. This is the essence of all advice. That's what this verse means. So it's very nice. Very nice. So that's what it's our project we're working on here. And every day, every time we chant, every time we come to hear Bhagavatam, every time even we're inquiring and asking questions. This should be the kind of the goal we're working towards. Or maybe you don't know. Like I said before, we might be beginning devotional service. We actually almost certainly are beginning devotional service because we have some material motivation. 4 types of people come to Krishna, all materially motivated. You know who they are? The distressed. Krishna, please help me. My life sucks. Please help me. Get rid of all these miseries in my life. So we're materially motivated in the beginning. Just my life really needs salvation. I really, this whole religion's based on getting saved, you know. Like the need we like, you know. So they approach the Lord. And actually Jesus says how blessed they are to approach the Lord in such a state. And Krishna's also saying how blessed we are to actually even approach the Lord. Then someone who needs something, all right? I don't know how I'm going to take care of my family. I don't know how I'm going to take care of this, that, and the other thing. Like, so you're materially motivated. You know, you're worshiping God because I don't know how anything else is going to work out in life. You know, so there's still material motivation. Not so much interested in like, all right, how can I deeply please you? But just like, I'm screwed here. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this thing. So, Hare Krishna, you know, and so we start going like this. So no problem. In the beginning, this is healthy actually. But then, in due time, you know, it should evolve. And so the next person, you know, who is curious, is, what is, you know, actually, what is the essence of life? What is going on here? You know, so they want to know more. You know, not now like maybe some misery has resided because they worship the Lord, and He's all right. By nature, I'll resolve your misery out. But then you're like, well, what is the reason for my existence? You know, what am I supposed to do? Who am I? How did you do that? How did you get rid of all my suffering? Like, what's your nature? You're a mystic being. What's going on with you and me? And what's going on here? So we start asking questions. And then eventually when we realize the... Yeah, you're just like, well, I'm still peaking, you know, a little bit of, you know, entertain my material mind here. What's actually happening? What's still going on? And then, even the last one, which is even superior to that, is still tinged with materialism, is the jnani, who's fully convinced, well, what is the absolute truth? Still, even the desire to want to know the absolute truth, for whatever benefit it may have you, still material desire, because we're still, you know, we talk about pure devotion is anyabilashita shunyam, means completely shunya of anyabilashita, or his material desires. And what is the symptom of that? Jnana, even the highest devotee who approaches Krishna. Karma, adi, which is like renunciation and like tapasya, all these things. Jnanavrtam, you're no longer covered by these things at all. And then, so what is actually pure devotion, unmotivated? It's anukulyena krishnanushilanam. Meaning it's only activities that are favorable to Krishna's pleasure. That's what I want to do. That's pure devotion. That's very high. Because we're doing for so many reasons, actually. So many reasons we're doing in devotion in the beginning. But it's actually good, because you're coming from a completely material place, completely materially motivated place, and then you're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, the solution to all my material problems I've become implicated in, hey, it's over there. And then you go closer, and then you realize you become, eventually, that's why in the Bhagavatam there's progression of pastimes, so you evolve. And one of the pastimes is Dhruv Maharaj, where he's realizing the Lord is the one who bestows all types of material benedictions. If I want to have material success, I should learn to pray to the Lord, and he does. And then when he actually gets darshan of the Lord and sees the Lord, he says, oh my God, I was praying for broken glass, and here I am, like the most precious jewels are before me. What the heck was I doing? And then the Lord, he said, well, I have to give you this thing you prayed for. You know, so he gave him the Dhruvaloka, which all the zodiac is spinning around the fixed star. We call this the North Star. Everyone, this is Dhruva's planet. But he's a great devotee, but he also still got implicated in some material things of this material world. So he has the highest planet in the material world. So anyhow, this teaches us how we can evolve. And so Arjuna is completely evolved. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. Remembering yesterday, I never finished the amazing... I really lament doing it, because that was like the proper conclusion of Baladev Purnima, is that Balaram's service is so glorious that he is able to actually serve in all of the 4 primary rasas, which starts with servant, master to servant, then to friendship, between friend and friend with the Lord, actually the Lord takes your junior position as like a child. You can be the Lord's supervisor, or you could care for the Lord very intimately as one cares for a child. And then there's the romantic, which has all the elements of the previous ones all mixed together. So anyway, Baladev, but also Arjuna, he actually has also mixtures and ways he's also performs in serving the Lord. But his two primary rasas is that he kind of oscillates between friendship and servitude. So there's like a kind of a blurring in between the two. So it's not like everyone's, all right, now you've evolved to only the servant phase, or now you've evolved to only the parental. There's mixture blends of the rasas. So anyway, I don't want to go too crazy with all these things. But let's actually just read Bhagavatam and see what we come across. Yo no jugopavana etya duranta krichtrad Durvasa sori rachitara yutagra bhugya Shakana shishtam upayujya yatastri loking Triptama mangshta salilevini magna sangha Salilevini magna sangha Yaha, one who, Naha, us, Jugopa, gave protection, Vane, forest, Etya, getting in, Duranta, dangerously, Krichtrat, trouble, Durvasasa, of Durvasa Muni, Ari, enemy, Rachitat, fabricated by, Ayuta, 10,000, Agrabuk, one who eats before, Yaha, that person, Saka Anashishtam, remnants of foodstuff, Upayujya, having accepted, Yata, because, Trilokim, all the three worlds, Triptam, satisfied, Amangshta, thought within the mind, Salile, while in the water, Vinimagna Sangha, all merged into the water. So this is talking about a very nice pastime. During our exile, Durvasa Muni, who eats with his 10,000 disciples, intrigued with our enemies to put us in dangerous trouble. At that time, he, Lord Krishna, simply by accepting the remnants of food, saved us. By his accepting food thus, the assembly of Munis, while bathing in the river, felt sumptuously fed, and all the three worlds were also satisfied. This will need lots of context. Purport. Durvasa Muni, a powerful mystic Brahmin, determined to observe the principles of religion with great vows and under strict austerities. His name is associated with many historical events, and it appears that the great mystic could be both easily satisfied and easily annoyed, like Lord Shiva. When he was satisfied, he could do tremendous good to the servitor, but if he was dissatisfied, he could bring about the greatest calamity. Kumari Kunti, at her father's house, used to minister all kinds of services to all great Brahmins, and being satisfied with her good reception, Durvasa Muni blessed her with the power to call any demigod she desired. That's how Arjuna and his brothers all took birth, with the blessing given by Durvasa Muni. So he was a great... did I skip that? Oh, no, sorry. It is understood that he was a plenary incarnation of Lord Shiva, and thus he could be either easily satisfied or annoyed. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and by Lord Shiva's order he accepted the priesthood of King Shvetaketu because of the king's performance of sacrifice for 100 years. Sometimes he used to visit the parliamentary assembly of the heavenly kingdom of Indradev. He could travel in space by his great mystic powers, and it is understood that he traveled a great distance through space, even up to the Vaikuntha planets beyond material space. He traveled all these long distances within 1 year, during his quarrel with King Ambarish, the great devotee and emperor of the world. This is a very famous pastime in the Bhagavatam, Ambarish and Durvasa. And you learn very viscerally why you should never make any offense towards a devotee. Even Durvasa Rishi, who actually made an offense towards Ambarish, he found himself in great trouble. Durvasa Muni, he's actually very, very instrumental. He's giving certain Gayatri mantras that we also chant, intimate Gayatri mantras that we chant. He had association with Krishna and the gopis as well. This is called this can be found in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Durvasa Muni, many, many great pastimes. This actually pastime is going to be explained by Prabhupada here. So many wonderful pastimes. But basically, he was very powerful, but also very grumpy. If you just messed up like a little thing, that would be it. He would curse you, and then you'd get like calamity would fall upon you and your situation. So everyone was kind of, every time Durvasa Muni comes, everyone's like paying attention, make sure everything is properly arranged. Sometimes you even might find you're hosting devotees, and some devotees are a little grumpier than other devotees. And so, not to criticize, but those devotees might feel like Durvasa Muni, like, oh my gosh, if I mess up one thing, they're going to chastise me, and things like this. And so you don't want to get the lack of blessings of great devotees. So Durvasa Rishi is a devotee, but sometimes due to his tendency towards anger, he could find himself even bewildered. So in the case of Ambarish Maharaj, that happened. He didn't realize Ambarish had perfect intentions. Ambarish Maharaj performed an Ekadashi for 1 year. We do Ekadashi for 1 day, but Ambarish Maharaj did an Ekadashi to Ekadashi fast. This Ekadashi to the next year's Ekadashi fast, even with his wives, everyone. But then Durvasa Rishi, he comes right at the end of the fast. But at the end of an Ekadashi fast, you have to break the fast at a very specific time. But then also, if you have a guest come to your home, they have to eat before you eat. So what to do? So Durvasa Rishi says, okay, I'll go. What he does is he says, yes, I've come with my disciples. Please prepare a feast. I'll go take bath and do my rituals and then come back and feed me. He did this here to Yudhishthira and Arjuna. This is where Krishna saved them. But he did this to Ambarish Maharaj in ancient times. But Ambarish Maharaj, he said, okay, I'm king of the world. I can feed you. But I have to also break my fast on time. I can't not observe Ekadashi Devi properly. So what did Ambarish Maharaj do? He said, okay, I'll break the fast and not break the fast at the same time. I'll just take a little bit of water. Because water, it said in the Shastra, that if you can still observe a fast on water, but at the same time, you can also break a fast. If you were doing dry fast, you can break a fast with water. So he said, okay, this is the way I can observe both. I'll take a little sip of water. But Durvasa Rishi got very offended. You took a sip of water before greeting me, your guest? You're a great fool. And then he ripped out one of his dreads and he threw it on the ground and it turned into a great demon. And the great demon was coming to assault Ambarish Maharaj. But Ambarish Maharaj said, this is my karma. For whatever reason, the Lord, if you wish me to end like this, I absorb myself in you. So what ended up happening, because he was a great devotee of the Lord, Sudarshan Chakra, the Lord's weapon of mass destruction, especially for the demons, came and arose and started charging towards Durvasa Rishi. And it sliced, the demon was defeated very easily, and then it starts coming towards Durvasa, and Durvasa's saying, oh my gosh, what to do? And he's very empowered, so he's traveling light speed all across the universe. Please help me, Brahma, please help me. Oh no, I don't know how to help you with this. You have to go, you have Sudarshan, that's beyond my jurisdiction. You should go check with Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, he goes to Lord Shiva, I'm your great devotee, please help me. Oh, but this is Vishnu's weapon. I have no jurisdiction here. You're going to have to go to Vishnu about this. So then Durvasa goes to Vishnu, please help me. And Vishnu says, you offended my devotee? Even I can't help you. You have to go to the devotee if you want to get rectification here. So then Durvasa goes, and the Sudarshan Chakra is finally about to catch him, and he jumps, and he dives at Ambarish Maharaj's feet, and he grabs his feet. And right there, Ambarish Maharaj, he prayed, please, Sudarshan, don't do this. Look, this great elevated devotee is touching my feet. What are you doing? Please, depart. And so Sudarshan listened to Ambarish Maharaj, he departed. And Durvasa Rishi realized, oh, I should be more careful with my outbursts towards devotees. So like this is a very nice pastime. What's that?
I should not get so angry if we drink water.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was joking. I said I shouldn't get so angry if they drink water.
Yes, you should not get so angry. If a devotee is drinking water, it's not really something to get angry about. But Durvasa, he knows all the intimate rules, and he might say, oh, you're not following this rule. Be very careful with how you, especially when you start applying more rules to your life. You might be be gentle with. You don't know the intentions of the devotee. Or you might judge a much more advanced devotee than yourself, which is what happened. And someone who knows all of the rules properly and how to observe everything properly. And this is what happened with Durvasa. I mean, he is an empowered incarnation. This is all Leela. He's actually a great devotee of the Lord. But this happened. Now in this pastime, we'll read, and then if I have to fill in anything, I will. He had about 10,000 disciples. Not that I need to. Prabhupada is giving everything that we need already. But just a summary. He had about 10,000 disciples, and wherever he visited and became a guest of the great Kshatriya kings, he used to be accompanied by a number of followers. Once he visited the house of Duryodhana, the enemy cousin of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Duryodhana was intelligent enough to satisfy the Brahmin by all means, and the great Rishi wanted to give some benediction to Duryodhana. Duryodhana knew his mystic powers, and he knew also that the mystic Brahmin, if dissatisfied, could cause some havoc. And thus he designed to engage the Brahmin to show his wrath upon his enemy cousins, the Pandavas. When the Rishi wanted to award some benediction to Duryodhana, the latter wished that he should visit the house of Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was the eldest and chief among all his cousins. But by his request, he would go to him after he had finished his meals with his queen, Draupadi. Duryodhana knew that after Draupadi's dinner, it would be impossible for Maharaj Yudhishthir to receive such a large number of Brahmin guests, and thus the Rishi would be annoyed and would create some trouble for his cousin Maharaj Yudhishthir. That was the plan of Duryodhana. Durvasa Muni agreed to this proposal, and he approached the king in exile, according to the plan of Duryodhana, after the king and Draupadi had finished their meals. On his arrival at the door of Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was at once well received, and the king requested him to finish his noontime religious rites in the river, for by that time the foodstuff would be prepared. Durvasa Muni, along with his large number of disciples, went to take a bath in the river, and Maharaj Yudhishthira was in great anxiety about the guests. As long as Draupadi had not taken her meals, food could be served to any number of guests, but the Rishi, by the plan of Duryodhana, reached there after Draupadi had finished their meals. I have to just give you some context because you won't understand. The Pandavas, when they were in exile, they were given a benediction. Yudhishthira, he was lamenting, the one thing he was lamenting when he went into exile is, I can no longer feed the Brahmins and the devotees. My duty as a king is to serve the Brahmins and the devotees, and now this is the only thing that I cannot do in the forest, and this is my greatest lamentation. So the sun god actually delivered them a plate, and a very special plate, and he says, as long as whoever prepares the food, in this case Draupadi, does not eat, you can feed as many people as possible with this food. So Draupadi would prepare food, and she would feed everybody, and there would be an infinite amount of food for the day until her and her husband ate, and then it would become limited. So this was the blessing of the sun god. So there's a lot of lessons in this pastime. But Duryodhana, because he's very wicked, he served Durvasa Muni very nicely, and Durvasa Muni blessed him. He could have taken so many positive things from his life with Durvasa Muni's blessing. But because he was envious, how did he want to use that blessing? To try and destroy his enemy cousins. And because his enemy cousins were great devotees, and he became enemy of devotees, naturally Krishna is going to foil all his plans. So he did this. He said, all right, please sabotage. I want you to go. He didn't tell Durvasa this, but Durvasa I'm sure knew. I want you to go to Yudhishthir after him and Draupadi took their meals. Why? Because at that time the food supply would be finished for the day. It could only be done once a day. And the food supply would be finished for the day, and then you'll insult Durvasa, and he knows Durvasa. If you don't serve Durvasa nicely, he'll get angry and he'll curse you. So he says, yes, this is perfect opportunity to sabotage my devotee cousins. So he did just like this. So now, Prabhupada, that's the context. Now, we'll see what Prabhupada says. When the devotees are put into difficulty, they have an opportunity to recollect the Lord with rapt attention. So Draupadi was thinking of Lord Krishna in that dangerous position, and the all-pervading Lord could at once know the dangerous position of his devotees. He therefore came there on the scene and asked Draupadi to give whatever food she might have in her stock. On her being so requested by the Lord, Draupadi was sorrowful, because the Supreme Lord asked her for some food, and she was unable to supply it at that time. She said to the Lord that the mysterious dish which she had received from the sun god could supply any amount of food if she herself had not eaten. But on that day she had already taken her meals, and thus they were in danger. By expressing her difficulty, she began to cry before the Lord, as only a woman would do in such a position. The Lord, however, asked Draupadi to bring up the cooking pots to see if there was any particle of foodstuff left. And on Draupadi's doing so, the Lord found some particle of vegetable sticking to the pot. The Lord at once picked it up and ate it. After doing so, the Lord asked Draupadi to call for her guests, the company of Durvasa. Bhima was sent to call them from the river. Bhima said, "Why are you delaying, sirs? Come on, the food is ready for you." But the Brahmins, because of Lord Krishna's accepting a little particle of food, felt sumptuously fed, even while they were in the water. They thought that since Maharaj Yudhishthira must have prepared many valuable dishes for them, and since they were not hungry and could not eat, the king would feel very sorry, so it was better not to go there. Thus they decided to go away. This incident proves that the Lord is the greatest mystic, and therefore he is known as Yogeshwar. Another instruction is that every householder must offer food to the Lord, and their result will be that everyone, even a company of guests numbering 10,000, will be satisfied because of the Lord's being satisfied. That is the way of devotional service. I'm seeing that here. We started off offering food to the deities, and more people are coming. Everyone who comes here, they eat nicely. And now even so much so, now we have 4 refrigerators now. They're all stacked to the brim with food. By the Lord's arrangement. I could never arrange all this food coming. I actually refuse to I tell the boys, I'm not buying this, and this. This is crazy to request so much food. And somehow or other, the food is coming anyway. So like this is, this is very good. Why? Because we offer everything to the Lord. That's step 1. Also in this pastime, you see what happened is they realized, I'm in complete difficulty. I have no idea how we're going to serve 10,000 rishis, and our food source is gone for the day. What are we going to do? So they beg the Lord, and only Draupadi weeps before the Lord. And so Krishna, he's in Dwarka at the time. He just, boom, my devotees, boom, he instant transmission. I don't know if you've ever watched. Never mind. It's a Dragon Ball Z reference. But he immediately appears there, light speed. And then he says, okay, what's the problem here? And Draupadi's weeping before him. We're going to become to ruin. We can't serve all these Brahmins. That was the real reason they were upset. They couldn't serve the devotees properly. What are we going to do? So Krishna is saying, where are the vegetable pots? Finds a little morsel. And because of so much love in their plea, he ate the vegetable and he was completely satisfied with all the love they put into their request. And when he is satisfied, when the Lord is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. That's why when we worship the Lord, everything will become satisfied. Even the people who are giving us trouble, they will actually also eventually become satisfied with what we are doing. So we worship the Lord like this. So what happens? Krishna eats. He's completely, wow, that was the best morsel of vegetable I've had in so long. So he's completely satisfied. And what happened? All of the hungry Brahmins in the water, now they're like, oh my God, I'm so full. I'm so full. Like, I can't eat anything. And I'm supposed to go eat over there with them. Yudhishthira is a great devotee. If I go there and he has prepared all this food and I can't eat, he may curse us, he may get very angry, he'll be very sad, and it's better we don't even go at all. So it worked out perfectly because they realized, I don't want to insult a devotee, we must leave. This is the best thing that we can do in this circumstance. So they all left. So Duryodhana's plan was foiled. Then Yudhishthira and all the devotees like, well, I don't know what we're going to do if they come and see we've cooked nothing. And everyone was satisfied. Why? Because the Lord was satisfied. So this should be a theme. Yes, Avin.
Why does Duryodhana want to sabotage the devotees?
Duryodhana is the personality of envy. He wanted the kingdom for himself, and he had already cheated the Pandavas into the forest you might have heard the story of Mahabharata, for 13 years, and then 12 years actually, and then the 13th year I think they're in exile in the cities. But anyway, they were exiled to the forest, and at every step he's trying to sabotage them so he can keep the kingdom. He's already cheated them out of the kingdom, as demons do. They take things by force, and then they try and scheme all kinds of schemes to keep what they've taken. So, but it doesn't work like that. The Lord gives and the Lord takes on his own time. And if you're deserving, if you're a great devotee, everything will be given. And if you've taken by demonic force, it will get taken from you. So like this, we have to, we see that a lot of these pastimes. But Duryodhana he has the wrong idea in so many ways, like that. I think the meaning of Duryodhana, I forget the meaning of it. Duryodhana means, meaning, difficult to conquer, one who's difficult to fight with. There's another definition I've heard also of Duryodhana. But anyway, I'm not going to find it with a quick Google. It's like a different, more devotional meaning as well. But anyway, yeah, this is how it works. You know, you serve the Lord, everyone is happy. You don't serve the Lord, no one will be happy. You know, so like this. Why don't we do one more? Yate jasatta bhagavan yudishula panir Visma pita sagirijo stramadan nijang me Anye pichaham anunaiva kalevarena Prapto mahendra bhavane maharasanardham Yat, by whose? Tejasa, by influence. Atha, at one time. Bhagavan, the personality of God. Lord Shiva is actually the reference here. Yudhi, in the battle. Shulapani, one who has a trident in his hand. Vismapita, astonished. Sagirija, along with the daughter of the Himalaya mountains. Astram, weapon. Adat, awarded. Nijam, of his own. Me, unto me. Anyayapi, so also others. Cha, and aham, myself. Amuna, by this. Eva, definitely. Kale Varena, by the body. Prapta, obtained. Maha Indra Bhavane, in the house of Indra Dev. Mahat, great. Asana Ardham, half elevated seat. It was by his influence only that in a fight I was able to astonish the personality of God, Lord Shiva, and his wife, the daughter of Mount Himalaya. Thus he, Lord Shiva, became pleased with me and awarded me his own weapon. Other demigods also delivered their respective weapons to me. And in addition, I was able to reach the heavenly planets in this present body and was allowed a half-elevated seat. Purport. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, were pleased with Arjuna. The idea is that one who is favored by Lord Shiva or any other demigod may not necessarily be favored by the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Ravan was certainly a great devotee of Lord Shiva, but he could not be saved from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra. And there are many instances like that in the histories of the Puranas, but here is an instance where we can see that Lord Shiva became pleased even in the fight with Arjuna. The devotees of the Supreme Lord know how to respect the demigods, but the devotees of the demigods sometimes foolishly think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is no greater than the demigods. By such a conception, one becomes an offender and ultimately meets with the same end as Ravan and others. The instances described by Arjuna during his friendly dealings with Lord Sri Krishna are instructive for all who may be convinced by the lessons that one can achieve all favors simply by pleasing the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Whereas the devotees or worshippers of the demigods may achieve only partial benefits, which are also perishable, just as the demigods themselves are. So you might please all the demigods, but if you don't please the Supreme Lord, it'll all go in vain. And you might not make any effort to please any demigod, but if you please the Supreme Lord, all the demigods will be pleased, because the Lord is the one giving benediction to all the demigods. So the devotee, we don't worship demigods. Why do we not worship demigods? It's not out of disrespect, but it's out of, who do the demigods get their power from? Who do the demigods worship? It's always the Lord. So we also join them in worshiping the Lord, and we serve their master. And naturally, they will get pleased by our worship as well. So, another significance of the present verse is that Arjuna, by the grace of Lord Krishna, was able to reach the heavenly planet even with the self-same body and was honored by the heavenly demigod Indradev, being seated with him half elevated. One can reach the heavenly planets by the pious acts recommended in the Shastras in the category of fruitive activities. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9.21, when the reactions of such pious acts are spent, the enjoyer is again degraded to this earthly planet. The moon is also on the level with the heavenly planets, and only persons who have performed virtues, only performing sacrifices, giving charity, and undergoing severe austerities can be allowed to enter into the heavenly planets after the duration of life of the body. Arjuna was allowed to enter into the heavenly planets in the self-same body simply by the grace of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to do so. The present attempts to enter into the heavenly planets by the modern scientists will certainly prove futile because such scientists are not on the level of Arjuna. So this was written in the early 60s, right before the supposed moon landings happened. So Prabhupada oftentimes he's talking about this, hey, this is bogus, this is bogus, this is bogus. And actually, guess what? Later on, now if you actually study the footage, they have concluded, oh yeah, definitely bogus. But for many years, they bewildered many times textbooks are bewildered. Yes, we go to the moon, we do this in the moon, we do that on the moon. They've never been to the moon. And on top of that, it was just a big money grab. But they've proven with video how videos work and how you can CGI and fake videos. They've absolutely proven this is bogus. I saw a video yesterday of how they make videos in the ISS space station. And you see a video of the same person talking and doing things in the space station, having floating Fritos bags and floating toothbrushes and stuff. How behind them is a green screen and there's some person dressed in all green. They have like one of those green suits on, you've seen? And with their green suit, they can hold the Frito bag. And it looks, because you know how green screens work? You know this technology? But it shows you how in the green screen you can create an illusion of this, that, and the other thing. There's a very famous film person was involved with the original moon landing, Stanley Kubrick. He made many famous movies. Unfortunately, due to his involvement in these things, he had an early departure of his life. Anyway, I won't get into conspiracies and things. But anyhow, Prabhupada was actually calling this out far before it was sniffed out by much of society. Still, they're going with the same narrative, but anyone who's deeply thinking into this and studies this, you'll see, oh, no, this is crazy. And again, the reason they were going throughout the 60s and 70s, but since 1978, we somehow lost the technology or ability to go there, or it's not fruitful, it's not a good idea to go there anymore. Apparently, if you look at the original moon lander, it is a horror show of a technology compared to what we have now. They should have so much more better ability to go to the moon, but now apparently they have worse ability to go to the moon. It's just a complete farce. But anyway, I'll let you discover that for yourself. I'm not going to argue this thing with you guys. But Prabhupada sniffed it out before he knew intuitively this is bogus. Everything I've known of Shastra, this is bogus. This is not going to work. And indeed it did not work, even though they told the world it did work. But now if you study what they've told the world and you actually use real science on it, you see, oh wait, you guys you're cheaters. But this is Kali Yuga, it's natural actually. But anyhow, that's one part of this. But back to the point, they are ordinary human beings without any assets of sacrifice, charity, or austerities. The material body is influenced by the three modes of material nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. The present population is more or less influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, and the symptoms for such influence are exhibited in their becoming very lusty and greedy. So if you find yourself to be very lusty, desirous, that could mean especially sexually desirous, but also desirous for any material thing in this world, any material pleasure. You could be lusty for ice cream, you could be lusty for men or women, you could be lusty for so many things in this material world, or greedy, wanting to acquire all kinds of material things. These are the symptoms of passion and ignorance. So you cannot go to the heavenly planets with such energies very prevalent within you. So such degraded fellows can hardly approach the higher planetary systems. Above the heavenly planets, there are many other planets also, which only those who are influenced by goodness can reach. In heavenly and other planets within the universe, the inhabitants are all highly intelligent, many more times than the human beings, and they are all pious in the higher and highest mode of goodness. They're all devotees of the Lord, and although their goodness is not unadulterated, still they are known as demigods, possessing the maximum amount of good qualities possible within the material world. So they can't be completely free from the lower modes, but they have such a higher percentage of sattva in the higher planets that we can't even fathom. It's impossible for almost any human being to go. But Arjuna was given the blessing of Krishna to go to the heavenly planets due to his devotion. He also was able to defeat Lord Shiva in a fight. Well, he didn't actually defeat him, but he was able to go head to head with Lord Shiva in the fight, and eventually please Lord Shiva in the fight, and was blessed with his weapon, and got all the blessings of all the demigods. This was only due to his devotion to Krishna. Similarly, you may need the help of some demigod in life, some benediction that a demigod gives. By pleasing Krishna, all of the demigods are pleased. Also, again, yes, the moon thing. Prabhupada will go through at the Bhagavatam multiple times saying, yes, they're not going to the moon, they're not going to the moon. And then at some point, they convince all of society they went to the moon, and then he kind of changes his tune. But he still never fully gives them the satisfaction of saying, yes, they've gone to the moon. He's saying whatever they've gone to, he's saying it cannot be the moon. The description of the moon is completely different in the Vedas. And actually, Prabhupada was very controversial for saying that back then, but now if we study how CGI works and all of these things, and how even video adulteration works, you see it's just so prevalent in the moon videos, harnesses they're using, the way they're hopping. It's just so unnatural what the presentation they're giving. Like again, Ben, you missed it, but I was telling yesterday how they do things in the space station, how they make things float and things like that, having some person in a green suit and a green screen, and they're floating the thing for you, and then when you actually see, I would never be able to refine the video, but I saw it just yesterday actually.
How is the moon presented in the Vedas? What is it described?
The moon is like a heavenly planet, and on the moon there's so many elevated beings, and there's so much. The moon is the planet that actually gives the vegetation its nourishment to grow. And you notice this at nighttime. In the daytime, vegetables don't grow that much, but you might come overnight and you say, holy crap, that sprouted up overnight. That saying is from that phenomena that the moon actually causes vegetation. It's said it's replete with all kinds of vegetation. There's so many things there. And just, if you just kind of study the basic facts of the so-called moon missions, and how they haven't gone in over almost 50 years now. In 2028, it'll be 50 years since they've gone and found any practical relevance for going. And if you just look at the actual thing they supposedly went to the moon with, you'd be like, is that like made of paper mache? You're like, it just looks so pathetic of an attempt. But, in the 60s, when people were pretty, they believed their government and everything that was, they're saying, now it's pretty obvious that the government is lying to us. There are no Epstein files, or, that's they're saying now, right? There's no this thing, there's no that thing, or one side of the news is saying, yes, this point, this point, this point. The other side of the news is saying opposite point. Well, someone must at least not be telling the truth. And the real truth of the matter lies, you're both not telling the truth. You're both completely materially motivated. So, yes, you'll find this. Prabhupada he's controversial. But guess what? You're being cheated in the material world, and if you trust unbona fide masters, you'll get cheated. Just like many times we see things arise and they're not what we thought they were. That's why so many things fall apart, agreements fall apart, this, that, and the other thing. This is Kali Yuga, symptom. It's the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So with that, the hypocrisy will come lying and cheating, all kinds of things. So anyway, don't make this all about the moon. There's spiritual, there's spiritual things to get from this, but also you should know. You should really reevaluate. That's not the only thing that'll get challenged. The theories of evolution will get challenged if you subscribe to all these doctrines. Yes, even though again scientifically it doesn't hold up. Even also scientific. You see the material motivation. Darwin and their associates, one of their main influence, they wanted to be free from the church's doctrine of sexual confinement to marriage. They wanted to have sexual liberty, You know, they were like some of the first sexual freedom fighters. It was Charles Darwin and his associates. So they made some theory that they were heavily motivated to try and disprove the classical theories of the church at the time. So anyway, but you can even see scientifically, you know, we make, oh, everything is coming from amoebas and then it comes from here. We've never observed scientifically that there's ever been an evolution of a species. We've never had any documentation. We've seen a lot of microevolution where species will adapt, and you know, under certain circumstances, a species will adapt certain traits based on what's happening in the environment. But we've never seen any evidence of any species adapting into another species based on the things. But with this, but evolution, the theory, which is why it's still a theory of evolution, it emphasizes this over and over again. This is how it works. But there's no scientific evidence of it, actually. And scientific means that which you can observe. But it's all theory. It's all like hypothesis. But that's not science, you know. Like, for instance, the theory of evolution of dinosaurs, they're giving us so many images. But now, with all the modern science, they're realizing that instead of looking like reptiles, they look more like chickens. You know, so look how drastic of a change is in just what the modern scientists so-called dinosaurs. Just wait till you actually find out what the original museums, how they were piecing together the dinosaurs. You know, it was just like a shot in the dark. I think they look like this. They weren't like finding it preserved like this. They'd find this bone here, this bone there. Maybe if we put this here, this here, this here. It was a complete just crap show. But anyway, yeah, if you hold on very dearly to a lot of the modern presentations of what reality is, at least Prabhupada, he'll challenge that. He's going to challenge it. But it's actually, the Vedas themselves will challenge that. And 9 times out of 10, you'll see evidence. You don't need to sit there and try and prove the Vedas, because the Vedas are actually perfect. But if you don't have full faith in that, you can sit there and try and prove the Vedas, and eventually it'll be proven. Like, for instance, we're going very long today, but cow dung in the Vedas is the only poop that's pure. That's why in India they build in the walls, they put cow dung mixed with mud in the walls. And in so many things, cow dung is considered sacred and pure. They cook with cow dung. They dry it out and with fires. And so why would they do that? These people are crazy. They're playing with poop all the time. Many times, I know a lot of the farmers here in America, they get baffled every time an Indian person comes to their farm, because Indians have a totally different reverence towards cows than the farmers in America. I know we were talking to one of the farmers we used to get milk from in Newburgh, and she was pretty freaked out that there was an Indian person who would come, and because they revered the cows, the cow would urinate, and then they would take the urine and they would like bathe in the urine. It's actually pretty freaky for most Americans to see that. I was like completely freaked out the first time I went to India and I saw that. And then actually one time I freaked out a bunch of Indians who were more American Indians. But I freaked out a bunch of Indians because I saw a cow peeing and I said, oh, and I sprinkled some of the urine on my head, and they were like, what the hell did you just do? And so I probably shouldn't be telling people this online. But anyhow, why? Because but modern science has proven that what the Indians have known is that, like when COVID happened, I don't know if you ever were going anywhere in India. When COVID happened, they're spraying cow urine on everybody's hands. Anytime we were in India right when COVID was beginning, and we had to wash our hands with cow urine, to go in this place, because they knew some disease is spreading. Why? Cow urine is antiseptic. My wife actually cleans with cow urine. We have condensed cow urine, and we do deep cleaning with cow urine because it's scientifically proven. You can study. Cow dung, same things. Cow dung also, the only dung, most dung attracts insects. Cow dung actually repels insects. The Vedas knew this far long before, how sacred cow dung is, but it takes our scientists many thousands of years extra because they don't trust the Vedas. So they have to learn all these things by their ascending process of attaining knowledge. But the Vedas already gave that knowledge thousands of years ago. So no problem. You can try and prove the Vedas. But if you just believe the Vedas, you'll get a much better result. It's much quicker. But go ahead. You can study. You can use all of your scientific evidence to study. And they're finding, in Ayurveda now, much people turning to Ayurveda. even though it seems like unconventional, but they're finding, wow, they're curing so many diseases with Ayurveda, which uses things like leeches and uses things like fasting or only foods and herbs as treatments. And our modern science scoffs at it. But guess what? People are getting so much better result. More and more, it's growing, growing, growing more and more. Why? Because people are getting results out of using these sciences. So anyway, don't be so attached to what is being presented to you as in the form of knowledge, because actually this world's the problem is the ignorance. Actually, if you get sick, for instance, I lament every time I watch people get sick in the ashram, and the next thing they know, they're off to the pharmacy, and I got to get this thing, and I'm like, oh, God, please just use an Ayurvedic remedy, But I can't argue with people when they're sick, But still, like actually, you can get there's a science to curing disease. The Vedas give all these things already, actually, but until that faith is there and you learn how to practice these things, then you might rely on all these other things. Now, that being said, modern science is very useful for many things, many, many things. If I broke my arm, I have never broken a bone in my body, but there's no amount of herbs or there's no amount of Ayurvedic treatments. There might be some rehabilitation things, but there's nothing that's going to fix that. But actually, surgery is it's not perfect, but it's much better, Like you could break your arm in half and they can put metal and this, that, and the other, and they could kind of like scientifically graft you back together. We're not saying that it's useless, but better to not break your arm at all. Better to not fall into such a situation. Better watch now, because I'm criticizing, I'll break my arm. But I'll try not to. I'm not trying to criticize, but we should understand there's a lot of subtle elements to things that are the Vedas will give us answers to, that'll be far light years ahead of what modern science is saying, but it takes a certain level of faith to even look at it in the first place, and then on top of that, it'll take some realization. You may not agree right away or anything like that, but you'll realize eventually, because it's only giving you the truth. I've had this realization in my life. I've saw the medicinal system fail me many times over. In the hospital system, I've seen, look at even the COVID-19 thing. Anyone who, there was material motivation to put these things on people, but when people were going into the hospital, anytime they go on a ventilator, it's like the end. It's the end of almost like 90% of people. Same with cancer. As soon as they get chemotherapy, it's like the end, practically. Very few people, it has a very low success rate, but they do these things, and they discovered chemotherapy by, I think the Nazis discovered by poisoning the Jews with mustard gas. They say, oh, look at this. Also, when we poison them, it also is poisoning and killing the tumors in the body and things like this. So then they develop technology with these things. But these are very dark, and these are not good scientific things. And you're seeing, actually, I know a lot of people, if they get some disease, it's a very frightening situation, and they might not have any better information available. They resort to a lot of the modern means, more medicine you could call. And yes, I see almost always, there's always some consequence. So anyway, the Vedas give everything, actually, even medicine. They're giving everything. So have faith in the Vedas. You'll get a much better result like this. That being said, let's say you do get sick, and there's a bunch of Ayurvedic cheaters. Actually, one of the reasons Ayurveda is scoffed at in India is because of all the cheaters who are in the name of Ayurveda practicing, oh yes, just take this. We actually in Vrindavan, I don't want to call him a cheater. He's a devotee, but we learned later on that, the Ayurvedic promises weren't as bona fide as were presented to us. So this happens, actually. But if you actually learn the deep sciences and you can find someone genuinely giving these sciences, actually they're perfect. So anyhow. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.